The night I lost my job was quieter than I expected. No dramatic music, no collapsing world. Just the soft hum of my refrigerator, the city lights flickering faintly through the blinds of my small apartment, and the heavy silence of realization. 5 weeks ago, my department, 40 people strong, was dissolved in a single email. My severance package was fair, 3 months' salary and unused PTO, but the truth lingered. I was unemployed at 32, in a city where every coffee shop conversation revolved around success, startups, and promotions. Cassandra was sitting cross-legged on the couch when I told her. She had incense burning on the coffee table, the faint smell of sandalwood filling the room. Her yoga mat was rolled up neatly in the corner, a reminder of the world she inhabited, flexible, serene, detached. Her first words weren't what I expected. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "We'll figure this out." Instead, she leaned back, tightened her robe, and said softly, almost like a reprimand, "You can't tell anyone yet." I blinked at her. Can't tell anyone? I had just told her that the career I'd spent years building was gone overnight. But to Cassandra, it wasn't about survival, about resilience, about me. It was about appearances. Why not? I asked carefully. "Because," she said, brushing her hair from her face, "my parents think you're successful. Everyone does. This would be embarrassing." The word stung. Embarrassing. As though losing a job wasn't a universal reality, especially in tech. As though it said something shameful about me. "Cass," I began, trying to keep my voice calm. "This is a layoff. It happens. I need a network. Reach out to people. Let them know I'm—" "Don't," she interrupted. "Not yet. Just say you're weighing options. It's better that way." The shadows from the candle flickered across her face, making her look distant, untouchable. I should have argued harder, but I was tired. Too tired to fight that night. I nodded. And just like that, I surrendered a piece of my truth. Days turned into weeks. I sat in my small home office, resume after resume sent into the abyss of online portals. The sound of Cassandra's soft yoga music played in the background, like a reminder that while I was grasping for stability, she was drifting untouched. But then, something changed. Cassandra began telling stories, small ones at first. She told her friends that I was exploring opportunities. But by the second week, those words had evolved. Suddenly, I was weighing offers. By the third week, she was saying I was in final negotiations for a senior director role. I only learned about these lies when her friend Brittany congratulated me at a cafe, her voice bright with excitement. "Director level. Huh? That's incredible. Cassandra must be so proud." I froze, my coffee halfway to my lips. Brittany looked at me expectantly, waiting for me to beam with pride. Instead, I just nodded weakly, a fake smile plastered on my face. That night, I confronted Cassandra. "Why are you telling people I have job offers?" Her answer? A breezy wave of the hand, as though I'd just questioned her about the weather. "I'm manifesting positive outcomes for you," she said. "You should be grateful." Manifesting by lying? I shot back. "It's not lying if it's about to become true," she replied, her tone laced with irritation. "You'll get something soon. I'm just helping." Helping. That word would echo in my mind for weeks to come. Helping herself. Maybe. Helping her image. Certainly. Helping me? Not even close. By the 5th week, the web she'd spun was no longer harmless. It was suffocating. And then came the text that destroyed everything. "Great news. I told my parents about your promotion to senior director. Dad's so proud. We should start looking at houses in their neighborhood. The one on Maple just listed for $850,000. Perfect starter home." I stared at that text for 10 minutes, my chest tight, my heart pounding. A promotion? I didn't even have an interview lined up. An $850,000 house? Cassandra knew my severance couldn't cover a month of that mortgage. What promotion? I finally typed back. Her reply was instant. "The one you're about to get. I figured we should get ahead of the house hunt. Dad knows the sellers, can get us a deal." That was the moment. The moment of silence I'd kept for weeks shattered into 1,000 sharp pieces. I couldn't play along anymore. I typed one final message. Don't worry, I already have an update for them. Then I picked up the phone and called Robert, her father, the man of the hour. He greeted me warmly. Congratulations, son. Cassandra told us the great news. I swallowed hard. Robert, that's why I'm calling. There's no promotion. I was laid off 5 weeks ago. The silence on the other end was ice cold. Unemployed, he repeated. Yes, I said quietly. And Cassandra knew. She was the first person I told. Dinner was canceled. The engagement, though I didn't know it yet, was already over. That was the beginning of the unraveling. The thread pulled loose from the carefully woven illusion Cassandra had built, and once it started, nothing could stop it. Robert's voice still rang in my ears long after he hung up. His tone hadn't cracked, hadn't faltered, but the sharp chill in his words had been worse than any shouted anger. Cassandra's father was a man who built his furniture business from the ground up. He respected honesty, grit, and discipline, and I had just pulled the curtain back on his daughter's elaborate stage play. By the time I put my phone down, messages from Cassandra began to flood in. What did you do? Dad's furious. How could you humiliate me like this? You vindictive bastard. The vibrations of my phone felt like a drumbeat of panic against the quiet of my apartment. I didn't respond. Instead, I sat there, staring at the city lights beyond my window. My building overlooked a busy downtown street. Neon signs flickered against the dark sky, and the low thrum of traffic carried on as though the world hadn't shifted on its axis. But for me, everything had changed. By the time Cassandra showed up, pounding on my door with the ferocity of a storm, I was numb. I kept the chain latched when I opened it, letting her words spill through the narrow gap. You destroyed everything, she shouted, mascara streaked down her cheeks. I was trying to protect you, to protect us. I could smell her perfume, a floral blend she wore on nights she wanted to impress. It clung to the air, too sweet, too sharp, suffocating. Protect us? I asked, my voice low. By lying to everyone? By telling your parents I got a promotion that doesn't exist? Her face twisted, desperation blending with rage. I was trying to buy us time, to make sure they still respected you. My image or yours? I asked. She faltered, her lips parting, her breath catching. And then, softly, almost like she didn't realize the way her words, she said, Same thing. We're engaged. That was the knife. That was the moment I knew this wasn't about love. It was about ownership, about performance, about maintaining the illusion of perfection. We were engaged. I corrected, my tone flat. Not anymore. The silence that followed was almost theatrical. Her eyes widened, her hands shook. Then the barrage began. You're breaking up with me because I want to make you look good. I only wanted them to be proud of you. You'll never find anyone who supports you like I do. Just tell them you were confused. The promotion is still coming. If you don't fix this, I'll tell everyone you're abusive. The last threat made me reach for my phone. Calmly, deliberately, I hit record. Go ahead, I said. Tell them whatever you want. Just know I'm recording this, and I have all our texts backed up. Her expression flickered, fear breaking to the mask of indignation. Then she screamed, slammed her fist against the door, and stormed down the hallway. You just threw away the best thing in your life, she shouted over her shoulder, her voice echoing off the narrow walls. I stood there, my chest heaving, listening to her heels clack against the stairwell until the sound faded. For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange calm. Terrifying, yes, but freeing. The illusion had shattered, and I was standing in the wreckage. The next morning, Cassandra didn't come back with apologies or explanations. No, she came back with reinforcements, the kind you can't argue with. Her mother, Diane, called me. Her voice was sharp, the tone of a woman who had spent years perfecting the art of social appearances. What is this nonsense, refusing a promotion just to spite Cassandra? Do you understand what you've done to her reputation? I pressed the phone tighter against my ear, my knuckles white. Diane, there was never a promotion. I've been unemployed for 5 weeks. That's not what Cassandra says. She told us you turned down multiple offers to make her look bad. Did she show you off her letters? I asked quietly. Emails? Any proof? The silence on the other end was telling. Then, with a clipped tone, Diane hung up. It should have ended there, with her parents realizing the truth would always outrun Cassandra's lies. But that's not what happened. That afternoon, I received a message from Brittany, Cassandra's closest friend. She wanted to ask me a weird question. Cass has been borrowing money from me for months. Brittany typed. Said you were about to get a big signing bonus and would pay us back soon. She owes me around $3,000. Just checking, when's the bonus coming? My chest tightened, my stomach dropped. Bonus? There was no bonus. There was no job. Brittany, I typed carefully. I've been unemployed for 5 weeks. There's no bonus coming. The typing bubble blinked for what felt like an eternity before disappearing. Then the phone rang. Brittany's voice was shaky, angry, betrayed. She's been telling people you're about to make 6 figures. She said she needed the money for wedding expenses. Oh my God. And just like that, the truth began to ripple outward. One lie uncovered another, and another, until the whole fragile web started collapsing under its own weight. By the end of that day, I learned that Cassandra had borrowed thousands from friends, family, even her own brother, using me as collateral. And the only thing more shocking than the money itself was what she had spent it on. Designer handbags, spa retreats, vacations disguised as pre-wedding spiritual getaways, a wardrobe meant to match the wives of executives. All of it bought on credit against a life that didn't exist. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't about protecting my image. It was about building hers. By the time the sun set on that chaotic day, the truth wasn't just creeping out. It was rushing forward like a flood breaking through a dam. Cassandra's lies had been delicate threads woven into a tapestry of illusion, but once one snapped, the entire fabric tore apart. I sat on my couch that night, phone buzzing with notifications, my chest heavy with dread. The living room around me felt smaller than usual, as if the walls themselves were closing in under the weight of betrayal. The scent of stale coffee lingered in the air from a cup I'd abandoned hours earlier. Every vibration of my phone felt like a warning bell. Brittany wasn't the only one Cassandra had borrowed money from. Her coworker Jenna reached out, $1, $500. Her cousin Amy, $2,000. Her brother Kyle, $5,000. Each conversation followed the same sickening pattern. Cassandra had promised him repayment as soon as my promotion bonus cleared. She had tied their trust to my fictional success, and they had believed her because, until now, Cassandra's confidence had always been intoxicating. I felt my stomach twist. She hadn't just lied to her parents or to me. She had created an entire financial ecosystem built on my name. And now, everyone was coming collect. I did something bold, something I knew Cassandra would call vindictive. I created a group chat with all of them, Brittany, Jenna, Amy, and Kyle. And then I told the truth, plain and unvarnished. I was laid off 5 weeks ago. There is no promotion, no signing bonus. Cassandra knew this from the beginning. Whatever she borrowed, she did it without my knowledge. The responses came quickly. Brittany's anger was sharp. Jenna's disappointment dripped with betrayal. Amy's words cut like a blade. She used family for this? And then Kyle called me directly. His voice was tight, trembling with fury. She told me you were about to become a director at a Fortune 500 company, he spat. Said she needed the money for wedding preparations. $5,000, man. $5,000 because I wanted to help her star her life with you. My heart clenched. Kyle, I had no idea. We haven't even set a wedding date. She sent me receipts, he said bitterly. Said it was all for the wedding. He forwarded them. My phone buzzed with image after image. A $4,000 designer handbag. A $2,000 series of spa treatments. A $3,500 spiritual retreat, which looked suspiciously like a tropical vacation. A $2,000 clothing spree. Not flowers. Not deposits. Not anything resembling a wedding expense. She had spent over $11,000 of borrowed money to build a life she wanted others to believe she had already earned. I forwarded the evidence to Robert with a single message. You might want to see where the money went. That night, Cassandra's world cracked open. According to Kyle, who called me after the confrontation, it was brutal. Cassandra's parents, her brother, even her mother sat in the living room of their pristine suburban home, the air thick with tension. Diane tried to defend her daughter at first, but the receipts were undeniable. Robert demanded answers. Cassandra tried to spin the story into something noble. He turned down a promotion, she insisted, her voice trembling. He's chasing his passion. That's why I didn't tell you. I wanted to protect him. What passion? Robert pressed. Cryptocurrency trading, she blurted. He's going to make millions. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Robert's voice, low and firm. He told us he's been unemployed. No trading. No millions. Just honesty. Something you clearly don't understand. And then came the fatal slip. Kyle spotted her phone lighting up on the coffee table. A message preview. A heart emoji. The word, babe. Who's Trent? Kyle asked, his tone sharp. Cassandra's eyes widened. She grabbed the phone, but it was too late. Robert, calm but deadly, picked up Kyle's phone and called me on speaker. Son, his voice carried the weight of betrayal. Do you know someone named Trent? The name was foreign to me. No. Why? He seems to have a very friendly relationship with Cassandra. Heart emojis. Pet names. We're looking at the messages now. I heard shouting in the background. Cassandra's voice shrill, panicked. It's not what it looks like. But it was. It was exactly what it looked like. The puzzle pieces began to fit together in real time. Cassandra's sudden girls' nights. Her mysterious retreat. The way she had become more secretive over the past few months. Brittany had mentioned the retreat hadn't included other women. My chest felt hollow as the truth clicked into place. Trent was real. And he wasn't just a fling. He was part of her plan. Over the speakerphone, Cassandra broke down, her sobs echoing through the call. She admitted to seeing Trent for 3 months. She admitted she told him I was controlling, even abusive, painting herself as a victim waiting to be rescued. And the final blow, she admitted she had planned to leave me after securing a house in her parents' neighborhood, hoping to claim I had hidden assets and bleed me for financial support. But Trent wasn't in on the real story, either, to him. She painted a different illusion, that I was a wealthy tech executive worth millions, and that she was about to step into her own life of luxury as soon as she left me. Robert's voice, sharp as a blade, cut through the chaos. So, let me get this straight. You were cheating on your unemployed fiancé with another man, while borrowing money from family and friends based on his non-existent promotion. And now you're crying because we've caught you. Cassandra's only response was a broken, desperate cry. You're all ganging up on me. This is emotional abuse. And then she stormed out of the house, leaving the wreckage behind. But the storm wasn't over, because Trent wasn't who Cassandra thought he was either. When Cassandra stormed out her parents' house that night, the sound of the front door slamming was like a final gunshot echoing across a battlefield. For Robert, Diane, and Kyle, it was the sound of their daughter's mask shattering. For me, it was the sound of freedom. But Cassandra wasn't done. No, she was far from finished. She drove straight to Trent's loft on the edge of downtown. A sleek, modern building with glass walls and a rooftop view that screamed money. Only, Trent wasn't the polished businessman Cassandra had described to everyone. He was the son of an old money family, a trust fund kid who lived on allowance and vibes. His apartment always smelled faintly of cologne and spilled champagne, the floor littered with half-empty wine glasses and unopened Amazon packages. But when Cassandra banged on his door that night, she didn't find the escape she was looking for. She found Monica. Monica was Trent's actual girlfriend. Long time, serious, steady, the one who had been patiently tolerating his playboy lifestyle, believing that beneath the bravado, there was a man worth saving. She was the one who opened the door, still in a hoodie and sweatpants, her eyes swollen from crying. And behind her, Cassandra saw Trent, half-dressed, panic written across his face. It didn't take long for Monica to piece everything together. The late-night messages, the expensive gifts, the sudden drain of money that Trent had insisted were investments. Cassandra had told him that she was engaged to a wealthy tech executive, but trapped in an abusive relationship. She'd painted me as a millionaire who secretly controlled her, a man she needed to escape with his help. Trent, hopelessly smitten and endlessly gullible, had opened his wallet. He believed he was rescuing a damsel in distress. He thought Cassandra was going to leave me, marry him, and give him legitimacy in the glittering tech world. He thought his money was paving the way for their future. But Monica wasn't a fool. She'd already suspected something. And now, confronted with Cassandra in the doorway, the whole truth spilled out. Cassandra, still in her performance mode, tried to twist it. "Trent, they're lying to you. My fiancé, ex-fiancé, he's trying to destroy me. He's jealous of us." But Monica wasn't buying it. She turned to me the very next day. She found my number in Trent's phone and called. Her voice was tight, weary but steady. "I need to know the truth," she said. "Trent's telling me this wild story about you. Something about millions in tech investments. A big promotion. None of it makes sense. Who are you really?" I told her everything, every detail, from the layoff to Cassandra's lies to the borrowed money. I didn't spare her the ugliness. When I finished, there was a long silence on the other end. Finally, Monica spoke. Her voice trembled with disbelief and rage. "That line which told him you were the millionaire. He's been buying her gifts with his trust fund money, thinking he was investing in a future together." I exhaled slowly. "How much are we talking about?" "About $30,000, she said flatly. "Designer goods, trips, dinners. He even put a deposit on a Tesla for her. Told his dad it was a business investment." For a moment, I couldn't even respond. My chest tightened. $30,000, spent on maintaining an illusion so fragile it shattered with a single phone call. "His dad's already suspicious," Monica added. "That trust fund isn't free money. Every big purchase gets flagged." He asked about the Tesla. Trent said it was for business. His dad's not stupid. She was right. Within 48 hours, the entire house of cards fell apart. First, Trent's father found out about Cassandra and the Tesla. Furious, he froze Trent's access to the trust fund. No more lavish gifts. No more cash on demand. Trent, who had thought he was securing a future, suddenly had nothing but a monthly allowance that barely covered his rent. Second, Monica dumped Trent. Not quietly, either. She posted screenshots, receipts, and a brutal breakdown of Cassandra's manipulations on Instagram. Her story spread quickly. Friends, followers, mutual acquaintances. Cassandra's name was dragged across every corner of her social circle. Third, Brittany, Jenna, Amy, and Kyle, the one Cassandra had borrowed money from, saw Monica's posts. They demanded repayment immediately. No more patience. No more excuses. The group chat I created became a war zone of accusations and demands. Cassandra's name burned into every line. Fourth, Cassandra's yoga studio, the one safe place she had left, let her go. They didn't want to be associated with drama, scandal, or the chaos unraveling around her. One manager told me privately later, she made the clients uncomfortable. Too much whispering. Too much gossip. And finally, her parents shut the door. Literally. Robert told her she could not move back home until she repaid every dollar she owed. When Robert called me afterward, his voice was heavy with shame. "I'm ashamed of what our daughter has become. We're implementing tough love. No bailouts this time. She needs to face consequences." I believed him. For once, Cassandra's parents weren't sweeping her mistakes under the rug. But Cassandra wasn't ready to admit defeat. She posted on social media the very next morning. "Sometimes the universe tests our relationships by having our partners sabotage their own success. Standing by my man through his self-destructive phase. Unconditional love. Growth mindset." Her words dripped with manipulation. She was trying to rewrite the story, to make herself the victim, to cast me as the ungrateful saboteur. But the comments betrayed her. People who had seen Monica's posts, people who had lent her money, people who knew the truth. They weren't buying it. By the end of that week, Cassandra was a pariah in her own circles. The woman who once cared more about appearances and reality now had no image left to protect. And yet, Even in her ruin, she still found a way to blame me. "You destroyed my life over pride," she wrote in an email. "All you had to do was get a job that matched what I told people. Instead, you humiliated me and ruined multiple relationships. I hope you're happy being alone and mediocre." I didn't respond. I just forwarded it to Robert. His reply was simple, cutting, final. "She's getting nothing from us until she proves she can live within her means for 5 consecutive years. Thank you for showing us the truth." Cassandra's empire of lies was gone, but she still had one last card to play, one last attempt to claw back control of a life that was no longer hers. In the weeks that followed, silence became my closest companion. After the chaos of Cassandra's downfall, the screaming matches, the public exposures, the messages flying from every direction, I found myself waking up to a strange quiet. It wasn't peaceful at first. It was heavy, like the silence that lingers after a storm, when the air still smells of rain and broken branches clutter the streets. My apartment, once filled with Cassandra's curated decor, velvet cushions, gold-rimmed glasses, candles that smelled of luxury, now felt bare, stripped of her influence. The silence gave me space to think, but it also forced me to confront the truth. I had loved a version of Cassandra that had never existed. For Cassandra, however, silence was never an option. She thrived on noise, on drama, on the constant validation of attention. And so, when the world turned away from her, she grew desperate. At first, it came in small waves, blocked numbers leaving me voicemails dripping with blame. "You ruined me. You destroyed the life we were building." Then the messages escalated into pleas. "Let's fix this. We can start over." I'll tell them it was all a misunderstanding. But when I didn't respond, the anger returned sharper, darker. "You think you've won? You'll regret embarrassing me. I'll make sure you pay." Her threats weren't idle. A month later, I received a letter from a lawyer. Cassandra was filing a claim for emotional damages, accusing me of defamation and sabotage. The irony was suffocating. This woman, who had built a castle of lies on my name, now accusing me of ruining her reputation. But the evidence was stacked against her. Monica willingly testified, showing the screenshots and receipts. Brittany, Jenna, Amy, and Kyle all submitted statements about the loans. Even Robert, her own father, provided documents showing how she had misused family money. The case collapsed before it even reached trial. Her lawyer dropped her. Cassandra was left not only humiliated but responsible for the legal fees she had no means to pay. As her world burned, mine began to rebuild. Slowly, carefully, I picked up freelance projects, not glamorous, not high-paying, but honest. Work that reminded me what it meant to stand on my own without pretending to be more than I was. Every paycheck was small but grounding. Every late night of work a reminder that truth, though heavier, was easier to carry than lies. I started running in the mornings, feeling the cold air bite my lungs, reminding me that I was alive and unshackled. For the first time in years, my life felt like mine. But Cassandra couldn't stop spiraling. Monica told me, months later, that Cassandra had tried reaching out to Trent again, begging him to reconnect, insisting they could still have the future she promised. Trent, however, had already been cut off financially by his father, his life shrinking down to a studio apartment and part-time bartending. He had no money left to give her. Without him, without me, without her parents, Cassandra had no one left to manipulate. Social media, once her stage, became her graveyard. Every post she made was met with derision. Every attempt to spin her story drowned out by people who knew better. She posted about resilience, about rising from the ashes, about haters who don't understand growth. But the likes dwindled, the comments turned cruel, and eventually she went quiet. I heard whispers through mutual friends. She had moved into a tiny rental outside the city, working odd jobs she despised, constantly changing positions because she couldn't stomach the humility of real work. Her debts piled up, her credit score crumbled, and the woman who once obsessed over appearances was now invisible, forgotten by the very circles she had once manipulated to rise. The last time I saw her was by accident. Almost a year after everything fell apart, I was leaving a coffee shop downtown. when I caught sight of a figure across the street. She wore oversized sunglasses, her hair tied messily, her designer bag fraying at the edges. She looked smaller, dimmer, like a candle burning at its last wick. For a moment, her eyes met mine. There was no fire left in them, no venom, no performance, just exhaustion. She opened her mouth, as if to say something, but then turned and walked away. And that was it. That was a final chapter of Cassandra in my life. I didn't chase her. I didn't need to, because the story wasn't about her anymore. It was about me, about learning that love without honesty is poison, about realizing that appearances are paper-thin when weighed against truth, about understanding that sometimes the greatest freedom comes not from winning against someone else, but from walking away entirely. Cassandra's downfall wasn't a victory I celebrated. It wasn't satisfying the way movies show villains being defeated. It was sad, tragic even, watching someone so consumed by lies that they destroyed themselves. But it was also necessary, because her collapse gave me clarity. No matter how tempting the illusion, no matter how seductive the performance, reality always wins. And as I walked home that day, the sun warm on my skin, I realized I wasn't carrying her story anymore. I was carrying my own,